we a vibe. It's been a while and such a ride, our stars align. I love the fact I didn't let her go. She loves the fact that I just let her know. Now we're together, it's a different mode. We getting crazy in a different role. I love the fact I didn't let her go. She loves the fact that I just let her know.
What's up guys, it's BT here, and today we're going to be looking at Acer's new 390Hz monitor. Now I already know what you guys are thinking. Is this even necessary? Do you even need to upgrade from your 240Hz monitor if you're already happy with it? Well, today we're gonna get into all the specifics, where I think this monitor stands within the market, and is it worth your hard-earned cash? Now speaking of cash, this monitor is at a great price point when compared to the other 360Hz monitors and even some of the higher end 240Hz monitors. This one is coming in at $400 to $500, and I think a main reason behind that is it doesn't have the crazy spaceship stand, which is a good and a bad thing. This thing is super flimsy. Yes, it can tilt, yes, it can rotate and all those things, but it's just super flimsy. Like, it's not a good stand. It feels cheap. And also the panel feels cheap as well. Now it does have like a brushed aluminum look. Just like the overall build quality doesn't feel that great. Now the panel itself is great, just not the rest of the monitor. So this monitor, just like other gaming monitors, is just focused on performance. They don't really care about the build quality on this monitor, and you get to save $100 to $200 compared to the other 360Hz monitors because of it. And that's a trade-off I'm willing to take for you guys, because you can just throw this onto a monitor arm and save yourself $200 and get a superior panel compared to the competition. Now this comes with all the ports you could want. It comes with 2 HDMI 2.0 ports, a DP port. Now the DP port goes up to 360 or the 390 after you overclock it, and the HDMI can only go up to 240 Hz. Other than that, the bezels are really slim, which I like. They don't have the ugly big bezels like on a BenQ monitor, and then they have the big bottom bezel right here. On the bottom of the monitor, there's 2 speakers, which do get pretty loud. I wouldn't say they're audiophile quality, but if you just need to play some background music and you don't want to have some speakers on your desk, this is just a good way to save yourself some space. Now on the right side of the monitor, you're gonna have 4 buttons for the menu control and a joystick. Once you get used to the menus, it's very easy to navigate. You can control all the usual suspects. They've got color, brightness, contrast in there. Some of the standout features of the monitor menu are they have the max brightness that just puts the monitor automatically at its max brightness like it says. They've also got the black boost in there that lines up dark areas, similar to the one on the Zowie monitors. And I'd say it does a really good job. I leave mine at the 5, which I feel like is this perfect sweet spot for gaming and content. And this is going to be similar to the dark equalizer that we've seen on the BenQ monitors. They've also got the overdrive, which has a off and a normal and an extreme. And the extreme is the 0.5 milliseconds response time. We'll get into more of that later when we talk about the performance of this monitor. They also have the blue light filter, so if you're gaming at night and you want to go to bed after, that's a nice feature to have. They also have the HDR mode in there as well, which we will talk about a little bit later. So some more specifics about this monitor. It's a 1080p panel. It's 360 Hz, which can be overclocked to 390. It's IPS, so it already has a leg up on the BenQ monitors in terms of color, but IPS monitors have been known to have severe ghosting, which is where I felt the Alienware and the Acer really failed you guys, is that they ghosted a ton. It wasn't even worth stepping up from a 240Hz monitor to a 360Hz monitor because of it. Like, why mess yourself up and not get an accurate image so that you can click heads, right, accurately? You're gonna be shooting the ghost, the trail, especially if you play a fast-paced game like a Warzone or Apex. You definitely want a clear image. That's why the Diac Plus was so good with the BenQ monitors. Now this also has its own version, which is the VRB. So what made Diac Plus so special is that it can run at 240 Hz. Now the other 360 Hz monitors, when you ran that technology, like in the Asus and the Alienware, you can only go up to a max of 240 Hz. This one allows you to run that same technology at 390 Hz. So you're already getting a significant boost over the Zowie monitors. And I can say turning on, it does darken the screen because you are flashing one dark screen in between each frame to get rid of that motion blur, but it does do a really good job and does not affect the image that's coming out of this monitor. Well, it does affect it, but in a good way. We've seen in the past where UMLB technology actually messes up the gameplay. You have to lower your frame rate. It's just not a good experience. With this one, you're not making any compromises. Now on this one, when I switched it to the 0.5 milliseconds response time, I wasn't getting any of those weird artifacts where I'd see a textured wall and then it go smooth and go back and forth, and it was just throwing me off, which is why I couldn't recommend the Alienware monitor, because I was getting those weird artifacts. Once I switched it up to the 1 millisecond response time, the wall would turn textured and then it goes smooth and then it would just flicker, and it was just affecting my game. You know, it was affecting my experience. And I knew if you guys were to get that monitor, you wouldn't be happy with it. So I couldn't recommend it. But with this one, I saw a significant increase in the speed that I was seeing the game. It looked smooth. It looked smooth, like visually, it looked smoother to me when I went up to that extreme. And I didn't get any of the side effects that I was getting in the Alienware monitor. Now this is an IPS monitor, so if you want to color grade, I've edited all my videos, like the last 3 videos on this monitor, and it's done a really good job. It has 99% of the sRGB, really dope. It also has HDR as well. So if you want to impress your friends, show off a little video, it does do a good job of making the highlights high and the darks darker. And it really creates a nice contrast, which is HDR is known for. Now this is only 400 nits and true HDR is 1000 nits. So you're getting a somewhat similar HDR experience, but at this point, that's not why you're getting this monitor. That's just a plus, or you know, it's the last thing that should, you know, have you determine whether you're gonna get this monitor or not. In every other category, it does so well. Now, when I ran the UFO test, this monitor just holds its own versus some of these other monitors on the market, like the Alienware 360 Hz monitors. You can just see a clear difference in the trailing and the ghosting between the two monitors. The image is just super clean on this monitor, and at 390 Hz, 0.5 milliseconds response time, this thing is a beast. Did I mention it also has FreeSync? So if you want to make your experience even smoother, they also have that option for you. This thing just does it all. It does it all. And I'm really enjoying it. This monitor will do it all for you. Now, if you're coming from like a BenQ 2546K or the one before it, you know, I think it's worth it, especially if you have a higher end system. Let's say you have like a 3070, a 3080, 3090, one of the newer series that can take advantage of this. I definitely would recommend going with this monitor. Now, if you have something else, or you don't feel like your PC is up to snuff, upgrade your PC first before you go to a 390 Hz monitor. I'm running a Ryzen 5900X, 3090. My PC is a beast. I'd be getting like 400 frames per second. So if you're already hitting that in game, I definitely would check out this monitor. Now, for most people, I think the BenQ will be sufficient enough, but at this price point, I'd almost say just skip the BenQ if you don't already have it and go with this monitor, because of it's future proof, right? The BenQ, it's TN, doesn't have great viewing angles. You know, you're just buying that just for gaming. This can be a masterpiece on your desk. This can be the centerpiece of your desk, minus the stand. So I always like to say I'd rather have more frames, more hertz than not, just for having a little bit of leeway. So let's say, for instance, you're in an intense gunfight in Fortnite, Apex, Warzone, your frames are going all over the place. Let's say you start from 390, you're gonna drop to 330, 300. That's still really good, right? For most people, that's really good. That's above average. Now, if you're starting at 240 and you drop, what's gonna happen? You're gonna go even lower. You might see a little bit of stuttering. Then it just becomes like, all right, your monitor is getting in the way. Your equipment is getting in the way of you fragging. And I want you guys to have the best of the best. I don't like, if you have this monitor and you're losing gunfights, it's on you. You need to practice. It's not your equipment. And that's a good place to be at. I want you guys to have the best monitor. And this is the best competitive gaming monitor, and it will be the standard. I hope, because it's a stunner. And I think players, you know, we've gone so long having TN panels and that just being the standard, that it feels good to finally see IPS stepping up and being able to compete with the TN panels in terms of pure performance during FPS competitive shooters. This monitor will do a really good job for you guys, and it's at a fraction of the cost. You can find these anywhere between $400 to $500. Hopefully they're in stock after this video, who knows, but I really think this monitor is worth the money. And sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, well, yeah, it's good depending on who you are. If you have the extra money to spend on it, like a 1440p to 440 hertz, which is dope. But if you are I think if you are serious about gaming, if you want to win, if you're competitive like myself, this is the monitor that you want to go with. This one is staying on my desk, and I know that a lot of you guys will be happy with it. Just make sure you're running the right settings on it and you give it a chance. Get adjusted to it. You will see an improvement in your gameplay. All right, so that has been the review of the Acer 25XV2Q. That's a mouthful. There's a couple of different versions, which I will link down below. Yeah, it has been your boy BT. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.